All right, how's it, guys? Today I'm going to go over my style of Hawaiian crispy pork belly, or Sego Enterprises Hawaiian style crispy pork belly. First time I had this is in the town of Aiea on Oahu. Ever since then, I've been making religiously for friends, family, and customers and guests, and they've been raving about it, and they want to know more and want to have more. So here we go. Just a little of the ingredients that I'm going to be using today. I have a little bit of a house mix. This can be mixed with, there's a no product duck roast. You can go ahead and use that as a foundation and kind of spice it up yourself. I add a little bit of crushed black pepper, white pepper, a little bit of alaia rock salt for that Hawaiian essence and a nice flavor from the salt. And also a little bit of aji shio, which is kind of a flavored salt in Japanese. And I'm also adding a little bit of sea salt or rock sea salt, distilled white vinegar, a little bit of olive oil, and some Chinese cooking wine. I'm also going to be using a global knife today to kind of get this meat scored up and get it ready and prepped for the oven and get it ready for cooking. And I'm also going to be using this house-made tenderizer. I found this at the local Asian restaurant supply store. You can make your own, or you can find any kind of meat tenderizer will do just fine. So here we go. First thing we're going to do is we're going to find a nice piece of pork belly. Today I brought this nice piece of pork belly in. Has a nice fat content, as you can see, and also has a nice little bit of meat content as well. First thing we're going to do is we're going to have and give it a nice rinse off in the sink and kind of. Okay, so first things we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and score the pork. We're going to be scoring the meat side. It's important to go ahead and give it a score so we can get nice flavor within the whole meat itself, all the way through the whole pork belly as it's roasting in the oven. So we're just going to head and do a cross score. We're only going to go in about 1/4 inch to about a 1/2 inch score. And we're going to go ahead and do another diagonal score this way as well. There's nothing to it, very simple. There you are. We have the score product here. All right, guys, so here we are. We got the pork belly nice and scored, diagonal scores, cross scored, ready to go in the rolling boil for a quick blanch. The reason why we're going to be blanching this is just to kind of firm up the meat, close up the meat, and kind of get things started, so to speak. So we're going to be doing a quick blanch on here. We're just not going to be cooking it too much. It's going to go right in here. Okay, so we're just about there. I did flip it over one time to kind of get the other side, get the top side or the meat side, kind of get that blanched as well. I said 3 to 5 minutes. It's more like 1.5 minutes to about 3.5 minutes, depending on the thickness and the size of your pork belly. But we're going to go ahead and take this out of the blanch, and we're going to go ahead and plat it dry and get it ready for seasoning and get it ready to go in the oven. Okay, so we're back, and I took the pork belly out of the hot water blanch, giving it a nice pat dry with the paper towel, clean paper towel on both sides. As we're going to be ready to be seasoned here. We're going to go ahead before we season it. This is the most important part of the pork belly, crispy pork belly process, is actually tenderizing the skin side. So we're going to head and turn it over to the meat side down, skin side up, and we're going to be tenderizing the whole portion of the pork belly. Now, it's very important to make sure that we puncture through the pork skin in order for the air, when it's broiling, for the air to actually get under the skin and make air pockets, thus creating the crispiness of the pork skin. Without that process, without this process, you won't get a good quality. So it's very important to make sure we're using ample amount of tenderizing. So what I mean by that, I'm just going to go ahead and show you a little bit here. I'm just going to go ahead and tenderize the whole portion as such. And just when you think you have enough tenderizing done, you should do a little bit more just in case. It's very important. It's never to have, as I would say, never could have enough tenderizing on the pork skin in order to get that nice crispy texture when you're finished with the pork belly itself. So here we go. We're just going ahead and tenderizing this, and then I'll go ahead and show you what we do right after. Okay, so we're just about finished tenderizing the skin side. I've done an ample amount of tenderizing on the skin side, so we're going ahead and take the next process, which would be seasoning. We're going to be seasoning only the meat side, only the part that has meat, and the skin side will not be seasoned. Today we're going to be seasoning the meat side with a little bit of Chinese cooking sake. You can pretty much season it however you'd like, but I kind of like to use this as kind of a nice foundation. Has a nice sweetness and almost like a nice wine. So we're cooking it off in the oven, and it's going to leave a nice flavor. We're going to go ahead and massage it into the scored portion of the meat. Then we're going to add the dry seasoning. Add a good amount of dry seasoning on the meat side, because this is where all the flavor is going to come from. And again, once you get that in there, you want to make sure you massage that seasoning in there nice and good. So then when you put it in the oven, all that flavor is just going to fall straight down, straight through the whole pork belly itself. And you're going to have a nice stunning flavor and nice juicy flavor throughout the whole pork belly experience. So we're going to go ahead and add a little bit more of seasoning. There we are. So once we got that seasoned and massaged ready to go, we're going to be turning it over and working on the skin side. Now we're just going to be prepping the skin side so that when we put it in the oven, we want to kind of take away some of the moisture out of the skin, pull some of that moisture out, and have a nice shine on it as well. In order to get that shine, we're going to be doing a couple of things. Using distilled white vinegar. It's going to be poured on top of there. And it's going to be just smothered. Just right on top of the whole pork skin. It's important to make sure we use a good amount of vinegar. Just don't be shy on the vinegar, but you don't want to go too heavy. We're just going to make sure that the vinegar penetrates through the tenderized skin that we did. So the actual vinegar is actually going to seep through underneath the skin and the meat portion itself. Then we're going to finish it off with a little bit of olive oil. The olive oil will give the pork a nice shine and a nice color at the very end. We're going to want that nice golden brown. You could even have a little bit of charring at the end, which is just great. You can just scrape it off with a knife at the very end when we're finished. So we're going to go ahead and do a little bit more olive oil here. And then I like to finish it off with a little bit of sea salt on top. The sea salt will extract some of the moisture, the remaining moisture out of the pork skin as you're baking it in the oven. As soon as we are done with the baking process, I will scrape the sea salt off and I will finish the product by boiling it. So this will go in the oven now for 350 at, it'll go in at 350 for about 30 to 40 minutes. All right, so I have the pork belly in the oven. We're going to go middle rack. And we're going to set this in for 350 at about 30 to 40 minutes. We'll see how it looks when it comes out the oven of the baking process. All right, we're 35 minutes into the crispy pork belly. As you can see, we can get a nice color on the pork skin there. And the meat side of the pork belly is just about ready. I'm going to be going ahead and taking this off, scraping off all of that rock salt off the top. And we're going to be wrapping up the oven to a broil at 520 or 525. And we're going to go ahead and crisp up the skin next. That's going to be the next process in this beautiful looking pork belly here. Okay, as you can see, I scraped off majority of the sea salt off the top of the pork belly, the skin side. Now it's going to go into the oven on a broil. I also raised the rack up one level. We're just not even going to wait for the temperature ramp up. We're just going ahead and put it right in so it just kind of retains the heat and keeps that heat going. Next thing you'll see is the skin start to bubble. We're going ahead and put this in the broil for about roughly about 10 to 15 minutes. and we're going to see starts to the skin start to bubble, and we are going to be just about finished. All right, here we go. This is the point of a moment of truth, so to speak, making sure that the skin is nice and crispy. As you can see, the sound is incredible, the smell is incredible, and we're hoping that the skin is going to sound nice and crispy. So here we go. You tell me, does that sound a little bit crispy to you? We're going to let this settle and rest a little bit before we cut into it. Stay tuned and we're going to see how it looks. But this is absolutely crispy as can be.